All right, guys, we're ready to go. Matt Parrish, you can kick us off.
Hi, Ron. Obviously, the roster's out, and everyone kind of wants to know about Alex Smith. Just obviously, he made the roster. What did you see in him and his progress that makes you feel comfortable with him making the 53 man?
Well, there were a couple things that happened last week that I found real interesting as we were talking about what our plan would be with Alex. And, in each of those sessions, that we had, you could see the progress, you could see him developing. But the one thing you really didn't know was his mental state of mind, where he was. And we sat down with him, myself, Kenny Zampese, and Scott Turner, and he was very passionate about wanting the opportunity to play again. Very passionate about making this football team. And that really stood out to me because it really just showed that mentally, I think he's passed the hurdle. I've talked to the doctors. I've his doctors that he worked with, the surgeons, the people that he had worked with from the military. And our doctors, and everybody was very positive about where he was physically. And to me, the mental aspect was answered the other day when he was very passionate about it, about believing in himself. Because you could see him do things, you could see the progression. But always in the back of your mind, you always wonder about the mental aspect. How is he going to be with it? And I loved his response. I loved the way he went at us about wanting to do specific things. And you guys didn't get to see it, but we threw him right into the middle of the fire the last 2 days of practice. He handled all the 11-11 drills for the backups and for the practice squad stuff, or the practice team stuff. So we got right in the middle of it. People were flying all over the place, and he just stood tall. So that was probably the biggest hurdle, I think, for me personally. I wanted to see, and just watching him do that was really kind of a cool deal because I'm fired up for what he can be, and hopefully we can continue to progress too. And this gives him a chance to continue to work on the football movements that he's got to get back, because again, he's still rusty. You still see it, and that's the honest part about it, and that's the beauty of having both Kenny and Scott in that conversation was they could tell them, hey, there are some things that still look a little rusty that we got to work on. So it was a very positive situation, and I think it really helped give some clarity.
Yeah, there's the short-term IR this year, but everything fine with that? He's not going to go on IR for the time being after the 53 man. Or?
No, he's not. He's not. He's in a good place right now. We're in a good place as a football team, so I'm happy with what we've done.
Ron, so to that point that you're saying he got thrown into the fire, does that mean was he contacted? Has he been cleared for contact yet?
Oh yeah. He was. That's the only reason we activated him was he was cleared completely, and then that was part of the process that we were going through in evaluating him and getting a chance to watch him. But the thing that I wanted to see was exactly how much did he want. And when we sat down and talked, and he was very passionate about it, that kind of helped clear some things in my mind that he believes he's ready to play. So, if the opportunity comes down the line, who knows? But I do know this: he's working. He's in the middle of everything, and we're going to continue to go forward with him and our football team.
And just to sort of drill down a little bit more, so he's cleared for contact. Obviously, quarterbacks typically don't take contact during camp. He's in an unusual circumstance. Do you anticipate him taking contact this week or leading it before the regular season starts?
Well, hopefully he doesn't. I hope none of our quarterbacks get any contact during practices. That's one of those things. If it happens, it happens, and that's, I guess, part of the thing that you worry about. Is that quarterbacks go in there and some of them they get shy and they don't stand tall and they kind of pull out or make bad throws because he stood tall. Guys were all over the place and he stood tall and delivered some good balls, some good passes. So, to me that was one of the things that I guess I was looking to see because I kept watching, kept saying, guys just standing tall and guys are all over the place, falling in front of him, falling behind him, bumping him. So again, like I said, it was just, I guess, another step in the direction.
So I'll just go ahead and clarify. So if the situation arises in the game against Philly and you need to put him in, you're comfortable putting him in?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll move on from Alex now. You guys released Sean Davis. I know that was somebody you had high hopes for at safety. I would imagine you're excited about the young guys you've got. Can you maybe break down that decision?
Well, both Troy Apke and Cameron Curl, DeShazer Everett. Those three young guys really had good camps. It's really not necessarily what Sean didn't do as much as how much those guys had progressed. I mean, I will be upfront. I really liked Troy coming in when he was drafted. When I was in Carolina, Marty Herney and we liked him a lot. Marty had actually gone to watch his workout at Penn State, and he's a guy that we were targeting, and he got drafted here. So I kind of followed his career. There's certain guys that you watch, you kind of follow. I kind of followed him. Obviously, we played against you guys last year, and got a chance to watch him on tape and paid attention to it. And then watching him lately, you really see that growth. Cameron Curl's a guy that was brought to our attention during the draft. A guy that when you're doing your evals, he's got the nice size, he's got the nice length, but he progressed every day. He seemed to get better. And we just kept saying, "God, he's got a high ceiling. We think this young man's not even scratching it yet." So we were excited. And then DeShazer, who's a special teams ace. I mean, you want those types of guys around, and he's a very smart, very bright young man. So we felt really good about the progress of those three guys. And and we had a number of injuries. Some concerns still on our secondary and our cornerback position. That I don't know if you noticed, but we opted to keep 6 corners. So. That's kind of where we are as well.
Hey, Ron, I wanted to ask about the receiver group. You only kept 5 wideouts. Is that something you plan on sticking with, or is that something you'll be watching pretty closely here over the next few days?
Well, we'll watch it the next few days, but we also like the guys that we have kept at running back because there's some position flex with those guys. Again, Antonio Gibson's background, J.D. McKissic's background. If we had in a situation, we know JD could play the slot. If something else came up, we know that Antonio could go out and play the Z or the X as well. Because we cross-trained both those guys at some point during camp, and they did the things that we needed just in case we get into an emergency. So, it's one of those things that we felt comfortable, but we most certainly going to check out and see what's happening.
And then Sadiq Charles, any thought of IR there? He hasn't done much yet.
No, he was running around yesterday. Looked pretty good. We'll see how he is come tomorrow, and he'll be out. We're going to do a light workout with the guys, and then they'll be off tomorrow, and they'll be off Monday.
Thank you, and thank you for having this done at 4 p.m.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know there was a race.
Sean will fill you in.
Okay.
Hey, Ron, you were talking the other day about wanting to keep guys for character reasons.
Yep.
I mean, some of these moves today, how many of them, maybe in your mind, were you needed to keep this guy for a character reason?
Honestly, everybody we let go is a high character young man. That's how I felt about him. I really did. To a man, the way they responded, we sat down, we talked, they came in. All these young men that we let go today could have easily stayed because of their character, because of their personality, because of who they are as young men. To be honest with you, I mean that's how I felt about that group of guys. I've been cut. I know what it feels like. And so this is never one of my favorite days. Yesterday was one of the harder days I've had as well. So, so I look at the list right here. I mean, all these guys are guys that could have made our team and under certain circumstances. One of the things I told the guys, the hard thing to do was really judge because we didn't have 4 preseason games to grade anybody off of. And the way I understand it, last year one of the stars of camp was Steven Sims. Young man came out, showed that he had return ability, made some plays with the ball in his hands, and next thing you know, he climbed the charts. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these guys didn't get those opportunities to show us what they really could do, and that's the hard part. Because I told the guys, I said, we can judge you off of the tape out there, but there's nothing like the actual action of the game. So, that was the hard part. But as far as character goes, I liked all these guys. I really did. The way we finished up this year with the guys that we had no issues, and we were fortunate we didn't have anybody get any we didn't have any COVID situations with these guys once we got started.
After your first camp in Carolina, you wound up with a lot of guys who were going to be your core guys, that you built with there. I mean, is there a thought when you look at this today, you've got your roster, like, some of these are my building block guys. These might be my next 5-year guys.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things some of these young guys got to understand. You might be a backup right now. You might be splitting time right now, but the hope is that you're a core guy that you're going to develop and show us. I talked to a couple of young guys today that were talking about, we're going to be splitting time, and they were kind of wishy-washy on splitting time. I said, look, the only reason we're splitting time is we don't know. So we've got 4 games in my mind. These first 4 games to really tell us what we have. We're going to move a lot of guys around. We're going to play a lot of different combinations of people. So you guys are going to see that. But that's all part of the process we have to go through to find out which 11 guys should be on the field at that time. So I told that to a few of the guys that came in and that made the team that I talked with today. I said, guys, you got to understand. We're going to rotate. We're going to roll. We're going to switch. We're going to work different groups of guys to find out who's our best 11. And a lot of these young guys are guys that I'm hoping are the guys that step up, that ascend. May not ascend in the first few games, but they may ascend as the season goes. And those are the guys that you're going to start saying, okay, this is a cornerstone. This guy's a cornerstone in that position. This guy's a cornerstone on defense. And you're going to start building around it and knowing that we've got to get these guys signed for the future in a few years. Because I will say this, if you go back and look at the team I had in Carolina, our biggest problem was after 2015, 2016, we got old. And this is a young group. This really is, and it's an exciting young group. And that's, like I told you guys, a big part of the reason why I decided to come here was because of the fact that there's a lot of good, young, talented football players that just don't know yet, and we've got to teach them.
Hey, Ron, is it disappointing to take Reuben Foster off the pup and then end up having to put him on IR just a couple weeks later? And what did you see from him during camp?
It is, because he was ascending very quickly. Things were coming back, and he kind of plateaued, and that was the thing that we were concerned with, and it's one of those things where you have to continue to work out and get stronger and stronger, and he just hadn't reached that point. So we wanted to say, look, we're going to put you back on IR, get you back into your rehab program, and work it. See what happens. I know in Dallas they had success with it. Here we had limited success, and again, he worked so hard. He worked his butt off, and again, this guy is a former first rounder that's got the skill set. We saw some of those flashes, but we didn't see it consistently, just because again he's recovering from a pretty significant injury.
And then, as a follow-up, there's some rumors of Ryan Anderson maybe being floated in trade talks. Did that ever enter your mind, or was Ryan always going to be on your 53?
No, Ryan's on our 53. He's a young man that had a good camp. We've got some specific things for him to use his skill set. He's a guy that I enjoy having around. I love his physical nature. That's one of the exciting things to watch about Ryan. But yeah, those things are being floated. They float about everybody.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Ron, to that point, defensive end is obviously a place you have a lot of talent here, but you keep 5 defensive ends, including James Smith-Williams. Can you kind of break down that decision-making, that math, and that position?
Position flex. I don't know if you guys saw, but James played the 5, the 9, the 3, the 7, and the 1. He's a guy that we can move inside if we had to. If we got into a situation where we're down a defensive tackle that week, we can move James in and have him practice that position. If we have something happen with one of our DNs, we can put him outside and have him be a DN. That was a big reason for that move with the young man, because he gives you position flex.
And then with the offensive line, keeping 10 offensive linemen, you talked about the importance of depth there. How do you feel about this position group, and kind of how did that come together?
I like this position group. I really do. I think it's a good, solid group. We kept 10 because we didn't want to expose any of those 10 guys. We just we feel that if we did, we could potentially lose them. But the 10 guys are guys that for the most part they can all start for us. Obviously, that's how we feel about them. We also have to have a plan just in case, because we got to make sure we're doing the social distancing, we're doing the things the right way because of the contact tracing, so that you have to have a big room, but you've got to be able to spread that room out so that these guys they keep their distance, they follow protocols, because if you lose your right side or your left side, you've got to have guys you can plug in and you can play with and protect your quarterback.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Ron, when was with Alex Smith, how skeptical were you of what he might be able to do before training camp, and when was the first time you thought, wow, he really had a chance here to get back on that roster?
Well, I was skeptical to begin with, but the more and more I learned about his situation, the more and more I learned about his recovery, and talked about those things with medical personnel, the more I began to understand. And then as I started to watch him, and didn't see a lot of residual, one of the things we always watch is the guy works really hard. You see how he recovers the next day, works hard, recovers the next day. And that was one of the things we paid attention with Alex. And we never got into a position where we felt we had to give him a long period off. And so, which is always a good thing. So he just continued to work and show us what he was capable of. And like I said, the biggest thing for me was really just seeing how passionate he was about, hey, I want to get out there. I want to, I want to take that chance. I feel good about who I am. I feel good about my recovery, and I'm rounding into football shape. So that was a very positive meeting, like I said, for me personally.
And then with the practice squad the way it is, were there some guys that you were able to keep on the active roster because you do have flexibility even with the practice squad and, and what you can do on game days and all that? How did that affect your decision making?
Well, there are some guys that you could have. I mean, you could argue for swapping a couple of these guys out. But I think the big thing, more so than anything else, really is because of the flexibility, it does allow you to do certain things, certain elements. It also allows you to go out and look, see who else is out there because of that. And if you can convince them to come join your team on the practice squad, then you feel pretty good about that.
We'll take 3 more guys.
Hey Ron, can you walk us through the decision as it relates to Danny Johnson, what you all on the coaching staff saw from him? We see Aaron Colton get released, and I believe it was about a week ago you said that Colton was in the top 5 of the cornerback room. Can you just walk us through that?
Well, he was having a good run of it, Aaron. He got nicked and kind of fell behind. The one thing we noticed about Danny was he just kept ascending. Now he got nicked as well, but when he came back, he hit the ground running and just kept playing, and he had a really good stretch there. And again, like I said, the hard part is you don't have any video. I mean, any game tape to watch because we didn't play any games. So we had to go off on pretty much what we were seeing. And again, knowing the fact Danny was here last year, and he's he's a guy that is familiar and comfortable with his teammates.
You said the last 2 days that we haven't been able to see, but that Alex Smith has taken the primary reps with the backup. Is that any indication in this backup battle at all, or is that practice?
No, that was practice. That was really to see. That was really the last chance for us to really take one hard look, and he really, like I said, the passion in which we talked, and you could see it. You really got the sense, and I thought to myself, we got to really just cut him loose 100% and see. And I thought he responded very well. We had a couple of extended and extra periods, which allowed us even more time to really break it down and look at it. And as I said, it was really good to have Scott and Kenny in there and give me the opportunity to visit with them and talk about what we were seeing and making sure it's what we needed to see to go forward.
Hi Ron, how valuable is Alex Smith to the other quarterbacks in the room and really the rest of the offense in general, just having him there?
Well, it's I think first of all for the quarterbacks, he's a great sounding board for all those guys. One of the things that I really did appreciate was the way he treated each one of those young guys. He treated him as if he was somebody that he was mentoring. You could see him put his arm around Dwayne and explain certain things. And, hey, did you see this when you first came out? Hey, this is the way you need to throw the ball. I thought he and Kyle had a really good rapport. And then watching him with Steven Montez was really cool because, Steven's just a big kid, and right now he's following everybody. But when Alex spoke, you could see Steven really zero in on what Alex had to say. As a team, to have a guy like that with his story, I think it just represents to me what the guys got to understand how important it is to work hard, to work towards your dream, towards what you want. That's the thing I appreciated about Alex as well. And offensively, because he's, and talking with both Scott and Kenny, they both said the same thing. When we were putting our installations in, and we would talk about something, Alex would say, hey, I noticed this, and this, and everybody would go, yeah, we were going to talk about that. So he has his experience that he can help verbalize things to his teammates and to the coaches, quite honestly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Got time for one more. No more?
Well, can I ask a clarification on the guys going on IR? Since they're going down today, that means they're lost for the season as opposed to
Yes.
going down to midpoint? Okay.
Yes, if we were going to do any move like that, we'd have to do that move tomorrow. And I do not anticipate any of that happening.
Thanks.
All right.
All right,
Thanks,
cool.
everyone.